That's a lot of Bollotta. Hi, friends, and welcome to Bollotta-FIDE, your one and only pod for events and entertainment. I'm Anthony Bollotta.
And I'm Alexia Christina Postolidis.
Hello, Alexia Christina Postolidis. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you, sir.
We have so much to talk about, but we have a great guest, so
Yes.
I'm just going to say, but first, the word of the week.
Okay.
Do you know why?
No, why?
Because words. The more you know, the better you communicate.
And the better your chance of getting others to listen and care.
And who doesn't want that, right? I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
All right. So with that in mind, the word of the week is ephemeral.
Ephemeral. Can you spell it?
Ephemeral, I sure can. E-P-H-E-M-E-R-A-L. Ephemeral.
Nicely done. Now
Thank you.
define it, please.
Oh, define it. Absolutely. Ephemeral. Lasting for a short time. Ephemeral.
Okay. Now use the word ephemeral in a sentence correctly, please.
I will now use it in a sentence correctly that maybe rhymes. Ephemeral. We work hard to make live events memorable because, well, shoot, they're ephemeral. Ephemeral.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Very nicely done.
Now it's your turn. What do you think of the word ephemeral? Leave a comment below, subscribe, hit that notification button. Who's joining us today?
Today we have multi-instrumentalist, audio engineer, producer, and master of the Chapman Stick, Mr. Tom Griesgraber.
Alrighty, well, we're here with Tom Griesgraber, and we're going to talk a little bit about what he does and what he plays, which is very, very interesting. We've already told you it's the Chapman Stick, but we're assuming that many of you don't know what the Chapman Stick is, so let's just start with a little convo about it.
Sure.
Shall we?
Sure.
Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, the basic thing, if you were to see somebody playing it, it kind of looks like a guitar with no body. The neck's a bit wider. The one I play is actually 12 strings across the neck, and it's not like a 12-string guitar where they're doubled up. It's actually 12 separate strings. The lowest bass string is in the middle, and you wind up with two halves of the instrument. We call them melody side and bass side. And what's really special about it is that the strings are set so low to the board that you don't have to pick or strum to play them. You tap on them to get notes ringing, and it becomes a little more like being a piano player, and that you're playing notes in both hands, but with two different tunings, both sides going low to high out from the middle.
Two
Yeah, two different tunings.
Wow.
There's reasons for that. I don't know if it's in the scope of this podcast, but there's kind of a mad scientist genius that the inventor had with this tuning. But essentially, your left hand can play low bass notes in a bass guitar range, but also a chord above it at the same time. And then the right hand is free to do melodies or other chords above it. The whole thing is split through two or sometimes three different outputs. And so those two string sets can have two different sounds. And on some of my instruments, I also have a third output that on the guitar side, the melody side, can send out a synthesizer output as well. So I can kind of juggle guitar, bass, and synthesizer sounds all just live on one instrument.
And you can change and transition in the middle of a song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
neat.
It's a lot of programming. I mean, people sometimes, depending on what the event is or whatever, how much gear I bring, but some people go, wow, yeah, it's a lot of gear for one person. Like, well, okay, but it's a bass rig, it's a guitar rig, it's a keyboard rig, and it's a mixing PA system, all in one. And then it's like, oh yeah, that's smaller than that kind of band would have, you know.
The sound is robust.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
very robust and full.
Mhm.
So absolutely, it's not like a guitar in that way
Sure.
as well, because you're playing, as you say, two instruments plus the input, so three instruments at once, really creating an orchestrated sound.
Somebody referred to it once as an orchestra on a 2x4.
That's what it is.
It's kind of,
It really is.
because you look at it and you would think, well, this doesn't look like it'd even be too hard to build. But the secret is that the craftsmanship of building it is that they have to get the strings very low, because you can play this technique on any guitar or bass, but you'd be hitting a lot harder to get the notes ringing. And so on the stick, it's a much lighter touch, more like you're playing piano or something.
Do you know what the inspiration was behind the creation of this?
Yeah. So Emmett Chapman was the inventor, and he was a jazz guitar player in the 60s. He was an LA native. playing around the jazz clubs. He started building guitars for himself, and he really seemed to just be searching for something. But his first love in music was improvisation as a jazz player. And he was a little bit frustrated on guitar because he wanted to be more like a jazz piano player where he could not only be playing the melody of a song and restructure the melody, but also the accompaniment, the chord structure, the rafters, the building structure of the song. He wanted to be able to change that freely as well. And so it was in 1969, he was practicing at home, and he'd already made this weird 9-string guitar for himself. He said it had levers and gadgets. He could bend strings with his elbow, and he was doing all kinds of things. But he suddenly realized he could play it with this tapping technique, and he thought, like, eureka, that's it. If I can get good at this technique, I can play in both hands like a piano player. And so that was August of 69. And he spent about 5 years making different iterations for himself, different experiments, and then decided to start selling what he called the stick in 1974. So it became known as the Chapman Stick. But he did a lot of stuff. Like if you were to look around, he was on some national TV things like Whose Line Is It Anyways? With Soupy Sales and things.
Oh,
wow.
They had him. It's on YouTube. You can find it.
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
Oh my goodness.
And they did the whole thing where they brought him out and they said, well, he's invented something. And the celebrity panel has to guess what it is. And they didn't get it.
No, I can't imagine.
Yeah. But that to date, it's still just one family business. His daughter, Grace Chapman, runs it now. And she's told me they've made about 10,000 instruments over the years. So
is that the number of players you think
No.
exists?
No.
Many more or fewer?
Well, fewer, because I mean, as we were talking about before air, I own 6 of them at this point, and I think a lot of people own more than one. And then there's, some people, like any instrument, some people buy it and they don't really take to it, and it sits in the closet, and like things happen.
But you mentioned things happen. You
Right.
mentioned that, which is a really good point to make, because the non-musician would think, okay, they have an instrument, they can play, they bring it where they go. There's not a thought that, there are many instruments, because you want to make sure that you have a working.
You're always ready. Yeah.
You're always ready.
Sure.
So 6 or
Yeah.
7 of them now
Well, 7th is on order.
But again, there are varieties of the Chapman
Sure.
Stick, and you have more than just one variety. Although you play the 12 string.
12 string is my favorite. Yeah, that's typically what I do. That's the largest string count they do. They do 8 string, 10 string, 12 string. But 12 is usually what I play.
Do you bring it back up with you when you go on events?
Depending on what it is, it depends on the travel. If it's a local event, a lot of times I'll take another one with me. If it's something where I'm flying, that gets a little bit trickier depending on baggage. And I actually, with Grace Chapman, I put together it's funny, I keep it in my suitcase. It looks like a little first aid kit. But I went through it before she was in charge of the company. Grace was in charge of all the repairs and retrofits and things.
Oh, she
and so I said, okay, well, what's everything that can go wrong here? And I have spare parts for like everything that could possibly go wrong.
Smart.
And including, I even travel with like a soldering iron,
Okay, how do you get that one? Well, I guess if you check it, but
with the instrument.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, how do you get through traveling with that on an airplane?
Well, the first aid kit is usually in a check bag. They don't care about that. There's nothing contraband in that. But the instrument's interesting because I usually like to travel with it in a soft case and keep it on me at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually try to put it in the overhead bin. And technically, when you're flying, I think there was some musicians union FAA supposedly agreement years ago where musicians are supposed to be able to take instruments on.
They'd always.
Well, yeah, it depends on the size of the bins. And I'm particular enough that I've started a file on my phone where I'm listing aircraft, like the model of the airplane, and which ones have bins that fit and which ones that don't.
Smart.
So when I'm booking flights, I can kind of look and see, well, as long as they keep this plane, I know there's room in the overhead.
Do you ever face pushback from the crew?
Usually not. Like the flight attendants are usually great. The only person who's kind of the gatekeeper, I guess, is the gate agents are sometimes a little sticky.
Yeah. And it's really one of those things that's, again, something that we don't normally think about, because if you were touring the world as a pianist,
right,
you would have the piano provided for you. It would be part of your rider. But a Chapman stick isn't something that you put on a rider and expect every house,
Right.
to have. So you
Yeah.
really do have to travel with it. You
Right.
don't have a choice.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. So I try to be prepared for anything. It's funny because one of the best known players of it, who's a friend of mine, is a guy named Tony Levin. And he's been Peter Gabriel's bass player, stick player for years. He played with King Crimson for years. John Lennon, Paul Simon, Pink Floyd, on and on. And he, he's a great guy, but he's much more, I don't want to say low tech, but he doesn't think about like construction as much as I do. He usually has a tech with him, right? He has somebody to take care of things. So if we're in the same place, a lot of times he might ask me like, hey, how's my stick doing or whatever. And I asked him once, I said, when you do these big arena tours, like 15,000, 20,000 people, do you take another instrument? He's like, no, I've never had a problem. I'm like, wow, like, okay. Like you've been doing this a lot longer than me. So,
well,
great.
I think it's always better to be prepared. And honestly, it shows, this is no shade, but it shows a level of professionalism and preparedness.
Well, the other thing that's funny about Tony, I'll say, is he plays multiple instruments, and he's so good at like not only stick, but also electric bass, upright bass. He'll play the same song on different instruments, different nights.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny because he actually told me stories like Peter Gabriel prefers him to play keyboard bass on a certain song. And he's like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. So I'll do it for a couple nights. And then when he's not looking, I'll switch back to something else. Like, that's amazing that you can get away with that.
So that's someone who doesn't have to worry because he plays so many instruments. He'll find something he can play.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to use it back up when you were on site?
No. I mean, I had one problem once when I was actually in Mexico, and I had something happen where the wood actually kind of got cracked a little bit from the temperature change or something. And the strings just got a little too high, and I just had to play a lot harder, but it wasn't comfortable. I didn't like it. But it worked,
Yeah. Again, the little nuances, the intricacies, the things that people don't see happening. You have to adapt to the circumstances, right? The environment.
Sure.
Do you find this is only on occasion that you have these challenges?
Yeah. I mean, I thought of that, what I just mentioned, because I think it happened once in 20-some years. So
that's good. That's the great average, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Tom, what are you doing now? What's next on the horizon?
Sure. So, I mean, one of the things that I'm constantly busy with is a group called the California Guitar Trio, where the group's been around since 91. I've been a member since 2021.
Mm-hmm.
We recorded some songs. Well, this is funny. We recorded about 10 songs 2 years ago, and then at my place up in Encinitas, and I have half my home turned into a studio. So the guys flew out and we started on it. And then kind of out of the blue, somebody asked me to do the music for a documentary film. And it was, a nice payday, and he let me keep all the rights to the music and everything, which is unheard of, and really generous director. And so I kind of told the guys, I'm really sorry, but I got to put everything on hold and do this. And they were understanding. And so the last year and a half has been getting the movie together. Then it's out. The director let me put it out as a soundtrack album. There's been some promo work with that. And now I'm kind of transitioning back to really focusing on the Guitar Trio album. But with the Guitar Trio, we're always in and out of town. I don't even know. It's usually about almost once a month or every 6 weeks. We have some short tour somewhere, usually US, Canada, we've been to Portugal. So
nice.
Lots of different places, but yeah.
This is that album
Yep.
that Tom orchestrated, composed, played, all him.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate one-man band experience.
Yeah. So that's all the music that's in the movie. The movie's now streaming on PBS on their website, and it's been airing on public television all over the country. So it's been really neat. To my knowledge, it's the first soundtrack that has the stick as the featured instrument. And the director specifically wanted that because he was a fan of my music. It's a little different than anything else I've recorded, because when they would give me the film, they had this temporary library music in there, which was kind of like, I'd call it modern classical. Like it was sort of strings and classical orchestra, but there'd be like backward sounds or something kind of unusual. And I thought, well, okay, there's some things about violins, violas, cellos that there's some things they do that the stick doesn't exactly do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually tried to like kind of merge those worlds. The theme of the movie the album's called The Split. The movie's called Prairie Prophecy, but the theme of the movie is kind of this split between nature and industrialized agriculture. And so I wound up doing a thing where, like, if the people on screen are talking more about industry and problems with the environment, I'm going to feature something more like analog synthesizers, and it's a little more like industrial sounding. And then when they're talking more about, nature and the solutions they're coming up with, I sort of transitioned more to the Chapman Stick with like kind of a backing small chamber orchestra. So it almost became like a stick concerto or something. It's
Very
interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
What are your plans for this piece now that you've written it? Any thoughts about trying to get into cultural centers or?
Well, the directors, the company, I should say, the film company is actively doing screenings around the country. And when they're local, he invites me out. We did one at the La Paloma Theater in Encinitas last year where I play before the movie. And he has another one scheduled in October up in San Juan Capistrano. That'll be the same kind of thing.
But as a concert version.
Oh, sure.
Thought about that?
I barely. I've played it for some, musician friends, obviously. And somebody said, "Oh, I see you doing this with like a string quartet." And I thought, "Oh, that's interesting." And then another thing has come up, which I got to arrange sometime late at night. And I went to force the hours into the day. There's a gentleman I'm sure you know, Peter Pupping, up in my neck of the woods, does the Encinitas Guitar Orchestra where he has 20, 30 guitarists, and he wants me to arrange a couple of the pieces to do with the guitar orchestra. And I thought, okay, I think that's doable. I can imagine transitioning these parts to that.
Yeah.
And then along those same lines, in August, I'm going up to Vancouver, one of the islands off British Columbia, to teach a stick seminar for about a week. And they always like to they'll get about 15 to 20-ish players there for the week. And they always like to do something together as an ensemble. And I thought, well, okay, let's have a stick orchestra play this stuff, a room full of like 20 stick players.
So are you arranging something for the sticks?
In theory. It's here. I got to put it on paper.
So what is the passion? What challenges you, or what makes you say, I can't turn this down, or I've got to do this? What is it?
It's creativity. It's really, the drive for me to even start playing the stick was kind of just to do something different. I knew from high school I wanted to be a musician, but my instrument at that point was guitar. As a kid, it was piano. High school, it was guitar.
Is that not what drives everything still today? That you want to do something different?
Sure. It's funny because my instinct is so funny that like if you put me in a room full of guitar players, I'm grabbing the stick. If you put me in a room full of sticks, I kind of want to look for a guitar.
That's funny.
I want to just, do something different. Yeah. So.
Well, the instrument does distinguish you quite a bit. And
sure.
You're going to see Tom play at the end of the broadcast, but suffice it to say that when he starts to play, people congregate because it's such an unusual instrument.
You're reading my mind because I was just thinking of a story when I first bought a stick and I didn't even know it needs to be amplified, but I didn't even know what to plug it into. I went to one of the big chain music stores and I was just walking around plugging it into different kind of amps. I couldn't play a single song, but I'd sit there and I'd kind of be banging notes around and these little crowds would start to form. And at that point, like I had a degree in music as a guitar player, and I know well enough if I'm sitting in the corner playing guitar and doing something actually musically impressive, nobody would care. But here I'm playing this and these crowds are forming and I can't play a song yet. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, this is a good sign. So
it's a great sign.
Yeah.
And it's a great reason to work with you, not only because you're terrific to work with, as is clear by all the work that you get and all the people that are interested in working with you.
Yeah.
But it's such an interesting, instrument
sure.
that you can be, as you have been many, many, many times, staged in the background and end up being the center of attention.
Yeah, I see it when I play an event with you, that I can look out over the audience, the crowd, and sooner or later there's the pointing and the whispering and the what, and I know exactly what they're asking.
I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm really beautiful.
Well, I've had so many experiences because that's every single show. And, there was one funny, if you guys probably know the Museum of Making Music up in Carlsbad.
Yes.
Some good friends with the folks up there. And they had me play at a fundraiser years ago, and I'm on stage, and it was low enough volume I could hear there were these tables of people, and I could hear the front table, what they were doing. And there was a group of kind of older ladies and one gentleman, and they're talking about what's that instrument. And the man chimes up and says, "Oh, it's an electric sitar." And not only was that wrong, what was hysterical was the next table over was Ravi Shankar and his wife, like the preeminent sitar player of all time. I went,
oh my gosh.
you don't know how bad you're kind of blowing this right now. So, but Ravi was so gracious that the museum folks told me that he was upset that they were talking while I was playing.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He enjoyed the performance.
He was sitting there focused. I'm like,
Does it make you nervous? Do you still get butterflies when you play? Or in what situations do you get those butterflies?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the high pressure kind of thing.
When everybody has their camera out?
Yeah. I had one last year. I haven't told you guys this story. I'm rambling, but
no rambling.
Well, I was talking about Tony Levin, right?
Yes.
He's easily the most visible stick player in the world. Well, he has a group he calls Stickmen, and it's him with the drummer from King Crimson and another guy who does sort of he calls it touch guitar. It's kind of a tapping guitar. And it's a trio. And I've opened for them a bunch of times. I've been friends with them for decades. I was supposed to open for them last summer, about almost a year ago now. And about a week's notice, their agent starts texting me and says, "Hey, we have a problem. Tony's sick. He's not going to be there. Do you think you can fill in?" I have 1 week notice. I don't know any of the material. And it's all this super complicated King Crimson progressive rock. Nothing's in 4/4. Everything's 7 or 11 or 5 and 7 at the same time. And I'm on tour with my own group, the California Guitar Trio, the week before. So we're driving up and down the coast playing shows. I'm in hotel rooms trying to learn the stuff. They had no sheet music. It was just all by ear.
Why bother with sheet music, Tom?
You can do it. Come on.
It was, I mean, yes, was I nervous? Yeah. That one, I knew I would be nervous enough. I always stand up when I play, or usually. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to sit down because I don't want to fall over. And I'm just, the only way I could think was I had to learn, we wound up doing 9 songs. I just wrote them all out as best I could. And I got myself a little music stand and stand light. And I thought, I'm just going to sit here. Everybody can look at them. I'm just going to try to sight read this like I'm back in music college. And it's an exam. How well can I do this? And I didn't even post anything on social media or anything, but the San Diego Reader had a reviewer there. And they wound up posting this article, and the headline was "Stickmen Substitute Blows Them Away." And I went, okay, I'm sharing this.
That's terrific.
That's incredible.
So it was crazy. I mean, I'm grateful that I got to do it, but you asked me what's the inspiration. I think in that case, it was largely that I'm friends with those guys, and I knew their whole tour would have been messed up if they didn't get some of the events going. And I was going to be there anyways. And I thought, well, I want to help them out. I love the music they do. Let's just go for this. What's the worst that can happen?
And part of it maybe is that being different is being the guy who steps in and saves the day.
Yeah.
Willing to say yes.
Yeah.
You're no worse for the wear, I would say. It's not as though these experiences have chipped away. It's probably strengthened your abilities.
It cuts in on your sleep.
Yes, for sure. But you sleep when you die. You've heard this.
Yeah.
Right. You have a child. So sleeping, you gave that up 6 years ago when you had your son.
Sure.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment when you were asked that you thought about saying no, or was it just an immediate yes?
Well, no. I mean, I approach everything like that when friends are asking me to do something, I'm like, I'll do anything I can to help you guys out. That was really my attitude. It wasn't even about
what can I do? It
wasn't even money or anything else. I mean, I knew that they were in a bad spot because they had this whole tour booked, and they had the hotels booked, and they had the rental van, and they had airfares and all these things that they'd just be in the hole for. I was like, well, okay, yeah, if we can do this, let's do this, I guess. Here we go. and it makes a great story afterwards.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Yeah.
And it makes a great friend. It's
Yeah.
the kind of
Yeah.
friend you really want to have in your back pocket.
Yeah.
So, we talk a lot about how the music is
Mhm.
different and the instrument is different, but that doesn't mean that everything you play is inaccessible.
No.
It's different, right?
not at all.
So talk about the repertoire that you have and
Well,
the types of music that
yeah, I mean, to put a number on it, I think solo repertoire, what's typically lives in my mind, there's probably about 3.5, 4 hours of music rattling around up there. A lot of it's original. Some of it is covers ranging from the Beatles or Sting to jazz standards. And it's playing events where you are in the background. To me, it's about trying to read the room, and I usually start out a little more simple. And although you guys like to pitch things as upbeat, and I thought, well, okay, as people are walking in, let's not be ballady.
Right.
But then once they're sitting down and they're talking, maybe kind of dip down, and
Right.
and then once they're pointing and going, "What's that instrument?" I'm like, by the end of the night, I'm like, okay, here's what it really does.
Right.
So
I can see how fun that would be to
Yeah.
start in a certain genre of music and then start to change that up and see the faces around you.
sure.
It would make me perk up for sure.
I always like trying to contrast pieces too. And even when I'm playing solo in more like a concert setting, I've gotten into this habit of asking audiences, okay, would you like the next song to be something pretty and melodic or something strange and weird? 90% of the time, it's strange and weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so in that setting, I lean more that way. In the background music setting, I lean the other way until I feel like, okay, they're ready for this, or they're paying attention. Or
It's fun
something.
being on site with you because I know I remember one time and you were setting up and I obviously was there and people kept coming and just whispering, "What is that? What is that?"
Yeah, there's some funny ones at events because I'm trying to be wallpaper,
hmm
or more or less, but I had one with you guys at Skybox.
Mhm.
And I remember whoever the head of the company was or whatever, at some point or maybe it was his wife or something, came over and they started asking, well, do you have CDs? And I was like, well, yeah. And I'm not like putting out a merch
Right.
table at an
Yeah.
event. And then he suddenly wanted to buy CDs for everybody at the event. And I went to the spotter and I was like, is that okay? Like, am I getting I'm like, well, no, if they want to do it, go ahead and do it. So suddenly it turned into like merch night at the
That's great.
background event.
Yeah.
We should know that in advance
know.
and let people know that there are CDs for sale.
Well, they were using
Right.
he was using it as like gifts for everybody at the
Oh,
That's the
attendance.
perfect
That's
way to
wonderful.
give away the music.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So
Okay, so we're running out of time. So before we let you go,
Sure.
we still have our Bollotta-FIDE 5. We did this the first time. No, maybe not.
I
I
don't
think you were pre-Bollotta-FIDE 5.
Yeah, he was.
Yes,
Yeah.
because Tom did join us on one of our very first
Mhm.
podcasts. It was audio only.
Mm.
So we have our Bollotta-FIDE 5, and we're going to ask him 5 questions that he's never heard.
okay.
He's not prepared for.
Okay.
And let's just go. Okay, take a deep breath. You can do anything. You really can. You can. Okay, Tom, what was the worst performing experience that you had?
Oh wow, they've all been so stellar. I don't know. Now,
Clearly.
yeah.
And it doesn't have to be something you did. Maybe somebody made it hard.
Oh well, just random one popped in my mind. I had an event it was an art show once. A painter hired me, and where they had set up for me to play was literally a one-way driveway with like a little kind of planter. So the idea was that I would stand in this planter and like traffic's going by and the gallery's open behind me. So that was the first one to pop into my head. That was a little odd, you know?
That doesn't surprise me, though.
Yeah.
I wish you had a picture of that.
Yeah, no,
standing in a planter.
No, if it
Like-
existed, I probably burned it.
Yeah,
but-
sure. All right. So have you ever met one of your heroes?
Oh, yeah.
And if not, who would you most like to meet?
I keep mentioning his name, but Tony Levin. I mean, he's the reason I play the instrument. I saw him playing with one of his own groups at a NAMM show in '97, and I was a guitar player at the time, and I was watching what he was doing, and I thought, this doesn't sound like guitar. This doesn't sound like bass. I think I could maybe do this, and that was the inspiration to get a stick, thinking it would be a side instrument, and eventually it became the main one. And 2 years later or something, I opened for his group and then started working with his drummer and took off from there.
Wow.
So,
Did it feel like a dream come true?
yeah, I mean, it's, I think all musicians have the nightmare of literally like you're asleep at night and you have the nightmare of being in some bad stage situation. And mine was, it's funny because it almost came true. I once had the nightmare of Tony Levin's asking me to play in his band and I don't know any of the music.
Well, yeah.
And then last year it happened.
Oh, that's right. It happened.
Exactly.
Right. It
It
happened.
was a little,
Self-fulfilling
Yeah.
prophecy.
Come on. They gave you a week's notice.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
What do you think people say about you when you leave the room?
Oh my. I think the stick always brings up questions. It's
But what about you?
How-
What do they say about you,
me personally.
Tom?
Gosh,
Tommy?
it depends on the kind of show. If it's a background event, they probably he was polite and cordial and quiet because I don't talk at all. If it's a more concert event and you give me a microphone and I'm in front of an audience, like the personality kind of shifts and people are like, wow, you seemed so quiet and normal before you started talking.
That's interesting. That's good to know.
I know.
Years ago, I worked with Otmar Liebert,
Mhm.
and I hadn't booked many celebrities before
Yeah.
him, and it was for a very small event on the lawn, on a lawn in a tent, and I didn't think to ask him if in between his songs, if he spoke, if he talked about his inspiration for writing the song, about anything of his career. And he said, no,
Oh.
I don't talk
Oh.
when I play. And it was a real wake up call for me
Mhm.
because I just thought, oh, sure, he's a performer. He's a guitarist. Of course he's going to speak,
Mhm.
but it's not a talent that everybody has.
No.
The gift of gab,
Sure.
the ability to really talk about the instrument and what you're doing and where the
Mhm.
inspiration comes from. And honestly, it's not something that I would guess because we always use you for background.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
not something that I would guess. So it's really good to know that
Yes.
about you.
Right.
That
It's
you
different.
come alive.
With the guitar trio, because I'm the new guy in the group, everybody introduces songs at some point, but it just happened that they usually have me at the end of the show. And so it's, it becomes like slapstick comedy relief moment of like just whatever I can think of.
Well, that's good. Do people
Yeah.
laugh? They
Oh, yeah.
respond? Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, so next question. You receive an invitation telling you, this may have already happened, there is a fly around
I
here.
know.
Is it in every frame?
No.
Okay. If I was Judge Judy and I had a fly swatter right now, the thing would be dead. You receive an invitation telling you you're invited to play. Who sent it or where did it come from?
An invitation.
Where would you like to play?
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Or for whom?
Right. First, again, this is first thought to pop in my head, but it did happen, but it was a long enough time ago that I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to do that again, was the Grammys.
Oh,
I actually, years ago, this is another funny story, but I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. They used to do alumni showcases in LA, and they had me on one of them. 4 singer-songwriters with me in the middle, everybody doing solo sets. I didn't even know what the Recording Academy was. I was so green about the business. But it happened that the girl who performed before me, who's a good friend these days, she worked for the president of the Grammys, and he came to hear her. And I didn't know any of this was going on, but he was going to leave after her set. The event organizer was like, you really should hear this next guy. It's something different. He turned around, sat down, watched my whole set, told his assistant, get his info. So I'm up in LA. I get this card from her. It says the Recording Academy. She said, my boss wants to hire you for some events. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm thinking it's like a music school, Recording Academy. I drive home, look it up. I'm like, wait, what just happened? So, I wound up doing 4 events for them. But it's been a minute. And honestly, to do that again, I would do it better now than I did back then. I know the ins and outs of everything so much better.
Well,
So-
maybe we just put it out there in the
Yeah.
universe
It's
for
out
you.
there.
It's out there.
Yeah.
It seems to me there's no other reason why it shouldn't happen except for maybe they didn't know you wanted to do it.
Well, change. There's always that thing of changing personnel too, right?
Always.
Yes.
It's the bane of our existence, right?
So,
Yeah. Okay, last one. What's one piece of advice you've been given that you continue to carry with you?
gosh, again, first thought, but just being early.
Early is on time?
Yeah. I do that. I do that to you guys all the time. But now that I'm telling you my secret, I'll have to be even earlier.
No, it's fine.
We never worry about that with you, just so we're very clear on that. That's never even an issue.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's one of the tenets of being a professional musician in the world of events. I've probably said it a million times, and this is no disrespect, but it's really more about the timeliness, the attitude, the presentation for a lot of the clients than it is about the musicality.
Right.
The fact that you bring the musicality is the icing on the cake, and the reason why we work with you, because quite frankly, if you didn't, we wouldn't be interested.
Right.
You are a fabulous musician, and you're working on an instrument that not only is different, looks different, sounds different. You are all over that stick. You know how to operate that stick and play it and get the best sound out of it. And it's really delightful to be in the presence of your music. It really is.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, and you give the client the opportunity to enjoy what you're doing because you don't make them nervous because of all those other things.
Right. Sure.
And you also, something else that you do, if we're going to pour love on you right now, is that you do sit back and you do watch and you do read the audience, and in your own way, you're having fun and you're enjoying the moment. And it's a good lesson because it is not a step down at all to be in the background. It's a talent. It's a gift.
It is.
To be able to provide that ambiance and to feel a part of it and not feel like, oh, I've evaporated into the background. It's really a gift. And that's, again, one of the things that you bring that's so great. People don't expect it. They see or they know they're going to get background music, and then they get this added visual of having something to look at, which really makes it extraordinary.
Which, to that point, Emmett Chapman years ago taught me a lesson about that. We were at the NAMM show. Somebody had arranged a stage where stick players were rotating in the lobby of the NAMM show. And so I'm standing, somebody else is setting up, and Emmett and I are standing there, and he's like, look at the crowd that's forming. And, it's, if you've been to the NAMM show, it could be rockers in leather, it could be business people in their suits and ties. It's this bizarre mix of people. They're all standing around waiting to see what this is going to be. And Emmett's point was, the instrument, they don't know what it's going to be. It's not like if you're a classical guitar fan and somebody has a big red guitar, electric guitar, you're running away. You're willing to give it a chance because it's something new.
Absolutely. You're craving
curious,
to know.
yeah.
Right. You're curious.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. So on that note, will you play us out?
Yeah.
All right. So just give us a moment. We're going to get them set up, and we're so looking forward to this.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for joining us on Bollotta-FIDE.
If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.